streaming as an archive show on YouTube, youtube.com/LCPios. If you want to watch after, if you miss any part of this show or any of our other shows, we would love you to check them out too. Keeping you connected with student athletes, coaches, the Lewis and Clark community, and alumni, as we have the show again 4 days a week, Tuesday through Friday at 11:30. Appreciate you joining us. I am Ryan Goff. I'm the play-by-play voice and director of athletic communications for Lewis and Clark, the Pioneers, based out of Portland, Oregon. We are an NCAA Division III institution competing in the Northwest Conference. So other institutions from Northwest Oregon and also throughout the state of Washington, and 19 intercollegiate sports competing in NCAA Division III. And that's a big opportunity. There's over 430 institutions nationwide, so our student athletes have the opportunity to compete nationwide. And Lewis and Clark sports a big overseas study program for all of its students, and so therefore there's big opportunity worldwide too. And that's fun because today our guest is Sydney Cross. She is a rising senior for Lewis and Clark softball, and she had a great experience with the overseas study program last fall as a spring student athlete. She was gone the whole fall semester in Greece. So I'll have a chance to talk to her because a lot of the overseas study stories that we've been able to share so far, unfortunately, have been from the spring. And because of the coronavirus pandemic, a lot of our student athletes like Etta Moen and Genevieve Cerna, they shared their story last Friday with us. You know, their spring overseas study experience was cut short, much like Sydney's junior season of softball was cut short. And it wasn't just because of the pandemic, too. So we'll catch up with her, get that story in just a little bit from now. Do invite you to connect with us, LC Pioneers, on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also comment in the Facebook comments below. And here's the deal. It's Facebook. Facebook loves itself some Facebook. So the more things that you say in the comments, even like a hi or hey, Sydney, or whatever the case may be, we love that because it lets Facebook know that people are interested. It shares with more people as we're trying, to keep everyone in the loop of what's going on with Lewis and Clark athletics. So please do that. You can also email us sports@lclark.edu if that is helpful as well. We shared this yesterday, but we're going to share it again because it is a pretty neat thing that happened with a couple of our alumni from the football program. Stein Retzloff and Thor Retzloff were featured in an outdoor TV segment as they explore the Arctic in a piece they called Area 11. And along with Aaron Hogue, who was the photographer, they traveled through the Arctic doing skiing adventures. But, Stein and Thor are pretty accomplished filmmakers so far. And what's neat is it's a high quality look into this just sea of white. You're looking at some of the pictures that Aaron took right now on your screen. And we shared the clip on our Instagram page. You can go to lcpioneers.com/link in bio as well, because that's where we send everyone with our bio in Instagram. And you can watch this piece, but it was really cool because not only is there like some amazing skiing, that was a big part of what they were trying to do, but big windstorm that kept them inside their tent for I think over 30 hours. So just visually stunning to see all the stuff that they went through in that excursion. You can also go to lcpioneers.com/area 11, the number 11, and our newsroom, the great folks over at Public Communications, Yancey Gordon wrote a piece about Stein and Thor from the class of 2016 and 2018, respectively. So that is pretty neat. And then, as I mentioned, you can find all of our shows archived youtube.com/lcpiles if you did miss any of our shows, including yesterday's conversation with volleyball head coach Emily Hayes. Please go to our YouTube page. You can check them out there. And with all that said, let's bring in our guest for today, rising senior, international affairs major out of Mount Shasta, California. She's a member of the softball program at Lewis and Clark. She's Sydney Cross, joining us on lcpioneers.com live. Sydney, it's great to have you join us and get a chance to talk to our first current softball player. We had an alumnus, Maddie Lee, earlier in the show. How have things been kind of on the heels of finals, the adjustment to going to online classes? How did you adjust and get through your finals?
Um, the adjustment was pretty easy. I mean, the professors that I had this semester were really nice and understanding, especially with Wi-Fi issues and things like that. So it actually went pretty smoothly, which was nice. But after finals, it's been nice to just relax for once because it was kind of stressful there for a while. But overall, the experience went pretty well for me, and I hope that's true for a lot of other students as well.
Likewise, for sure. I mean, we obviously We're all making the transition together, students and staff, and I mean, obviously, even people outside the Lewis and Clark world with this pandemic. I'm curious, junior year academically, kind of summarize us, with your international affairs major, kind of summarize it for us, with some of the highlights and some of the things that you really enjoyed about this last year.
Well, for me, I was studying abroad in Greece, like you said, in the fall. So that was definitely one of the biggest highlights of my year. So I got to kind of apply the things that I've learned at LC with international relations classes to being in Greece and living with other people and another culture, which was really nice and exciting and getting to see all those things. And then this spring semester, I took a course called International Political Economy with Elizabeth Bennett, and it was by far one of the most mind blowing, eye opening classes I've taken, just because you get to understand the world so much better economically and how like economics influences so many other things in the world as well.
And when you think about, transitioning now from the end of spring semester, which, we talked about some hecticness, to the summer and stay-at-home orders. I mean, you're in Northern California too, so I'm curious, how do you keep yourself busy? How do you keep yourself focused, going into the summer months?
Well, as soon as I got home, I knew that I needed to do something just because I also live in such a small town. There's only 3,000 of us. So I just built a huge garden and I pretty much garden and plant flowers every single day, which is nice. It's relaxing, kind of just get your head off of other things that you're worrying about. And then I'm also just lucky to live in an area where you can get out easily, go on walks and hikes, go swimming at the lakes and things, which is nice. So I've just mainly been focusing on trying to get out of the house, but also staying away from lots of people to protect them as well.
Yeah, we hope everybody is staying as safe as possible. Sydney Crouch joining us on lcpioneers.com live. We talked about online classes. I imagine that's not the only type of online communication, whether it was through FaceTime and such, that you've had, because trying to keep in touch with teammates and things, I have to imagine was paramount. Kind of describe the process outside of just academics, please. Give us an idea of, friends and how you were able to keep in touch with them over the last couple months.
Well, what was nice is my coach, Coach Cyrus, she did a really good job of making sure as a team we stayed connected. So we would have weekly group Zooms with the whole team and just to kind of keep in touch, fill each other in on what we've been doing, giving each other ideas on how to stay busy. And then on top of those group Zooms that we would do, we would split up into mini groups and it'd be about 4 or 5 of us and we'd meet every week as well just to talk, check in, so people who are more comfortable talking in smaller groups could talk and just really let us know how they're doing. And then we would also have big team Zooms without coaches, and we would play Kahoot games together. One person would share their screen, and then the rest of us would answer the questions. Um, and I've also just been FaceTiming lots of friends as well, even friends that are in town, just because they're stay-at-home orders. So FaceTime, I've never FaceTime this much in my life, but it's working and it makes me really grateful that we have such technology.
Yeah, if ever there was a time to be thankful for what we do have in that regard, I mean, there's Zoom fatigue. I've heard that phrase, because we're all on that specific platform, but it almost seems like a rejuvenation of even the audio call, to
Mhm.
try to keep in touch with people. Your spring season was cut short because of the coronavirus pandemic, but your story is super interesting because unfortunately the season was cut short earlier than when that happened because of an injury. Describe the early part of your season, some of the things that you were super optimistic about, just individually, and how you felt going into your junior year, and then let us know kind of what happened.
Well, going into this semester with season starting, it was different than years past just because I had been gone the semester before, so I hadn't met any of the freshmen yet. So going there first day of practice was really exciting because I got to see these freshmen, meet them, and also get to see how good they are and how well the team meshed together. And our practices were so exciting, so fun. Everyone was doing so well, and we finally got to our first weekend of games. And the Saturday, I think we had a scrimmage or so with another team, and then following day we had 2 actual games that counted. And we were doing really well. Everyone was hitting well. Infield, outfield was doing great. The energy in the dugout was absolutely amazing. And then that following week on the Thursday at practice, we had a little mini scrimmage. And I was running to second and trying to avoid a collision. And I dislocated my left ankle and broke some bones in there too. And completely tore the ligaments on both sides of my ankle. So that day was the end of season for me, which was hard, and I had to go to the hospital and all that. But it was really a bummer that season then had to end a few weeks later for all the girls. It was really heartbreaking, just because we had so much optimism and so much excitement going into the season. We really thought we were going to kill it out there. But yeah, so we were excited, but hopefully we can carry that excitement to next year.
And I certainly want to talk about next year because I think you do have a lot of pieces coming back. She's Sydney Cross, one of the pioneers, rising seniors for softball, joining us on lcpioneers.com. We broadcast Tuesday through Friday at 11:30 on our Facebook Live page and archived youtube.com/lcpios. Sydney's a former LC's Rookie of the Year too, and was hitting 429 before her injury. And then, as you described, your team finds out that games are going to be postponed very shortly after the whole season is canceled because of coronavirus. I'm curious. I want you to have a chance to talk about the seniors, the 3 that left the program with their season cut short and their career cut short, certainly. But what was some of the reasons that you felt like this team maybe was going down a different road than in years past in terms of the success you were having?
I think the seniors, for one, they're all 3 of them are some of my bestest friends. And they led the team with such positivity and encouragement, which was really nice. So all of us girls felt included and felt like we had a huge role on the team. And then also coming in to the spring semester, not knowing a lot of the freshmen that were already there for the first semester, I kind of had a different mindset and a different view and perspective of how the season was going. So I could just focus on all these girls' skills and get to know them while we're playing softball every single day. And we just established, all of us, this very close bond. And we really felt like we were unstoppable, which was an exciting feeling to have going into a season.
And I'm curious, what is it about maybe the third year for you, but also this group of players together with that talented freshman class that gave you guys, was it a feeling of more confidence? Was it maybe knowing each other so well, having a bigger pitching staff? I mean, what were some of the reasons that really kind of made it feel like it was going a different direction?
Definitely the pitching staff. I mean, the previous years had only a few girls, maybe 2, or we had Emily Drebjall coming in who had never really pitched a game before, and now she's like one of the main pitchers. But this year, having a loaded pitching staff was really nice because we could go into these weekends of 2 double headers knowing that we have the pitching strength and the stamina to get through the weekend, which gives you another sense of confidence as well. And also just knowing that we have girls that have your back. I mean, for me, I got hurt, so I knew that I had girls that could take my spot and really step up for the team, which was nice. And I accepted my role of being the girl that's going to support every single girl and make sure that whoever was playing third felt comfortable and knew what she was doing and improved every single day.
So then let's talk about what's ahead. I mean, we do lose 3 very key pieces in Frankie Warden, Lisa Kumasaka, and Savannah Dixon from the previous year. But what's some of the reason that Pioneers softball fans should be optimistic going into hopefully a complete and safe 2021?
I think everyone should be optimistic just because in our first few games this season, we were already crushing it. We were hitting the ball like crazy. Our defense was doing great, and we didn't get to show our full potential this season. So we're just basically postponing that till next year. So we left everybody on a cliffhanger. So that's what's getting me excited, is knowing that okay, like this movie ended, but it's gonna start like part two next year, and it's gonna be great.
You started to talk about, when you got hurt this year, there was shifting with Lily Moffat going from second base over to third.
Hmm.
And I want to get your perspective of how difficult a transition like that can be sometimes, because when you were a sophomore, your team unexpectedly didn't have a catcher that you had planned on. So now you're also playing third, but a lot of catcher. How difficult is that, from the outside? We don't know, but from the inside, can you describe what you have to do to try to be able to accomplish that?
It's really difficult. I mean, because now at practices you have to work on two positions, and you have to work on them 100% as well. And going into game day, you can't set your mind on, oh, I'm playing third, or oh, I'm playing second. You have to be open to switching those positions mid game. And I had that happen to me. I would play catcher and I'd have to go to third a couple innings later. And it's even harder for girls that didn't had haven't really played the second position much before, and that can kind of get in your head. So you really have to work on the mental side of it too, and just make sure to ensure yourself that you have the confidence to do it. Luckily, I caught a lot leading up to college, but what Lily did by switching from second to third, I admire her for it, because that is very difficult. Second base, you're a lot farther away from the plate, from the hitter. But when you get over to third base, those balls get at you so fast, and you have to kind of be ready for a bunt, but also be ready for a line drive that could come straight at your face. So what Lily did was really amazing, and I'm really proud of her. And she works hard all the time. And I think any girl on the team, if they had to do that, they could definitely switch positions and would commit 100% to it.
Lily's part of that rising junior class too. That will be crucial for your team next year. You'd mentioned this earlier, overseas study in Greece. Why was Greece the choice for you in terms of picking a program, and how did it kind of live up to your expectations? Whether it was very as expected, or were there some different moments that were also kind of neat?
I chose to go to Greece just because it had always been a dream of mine to go see Greece, see the Parthenon, and all this ancient history. So going there was just fulfilling a lifelong dream. And when I got there, it was absolutely amazing. I think the food, best food that I've ever had ever. The ocean is so close no matter where you are, and the water's always so warm. It's always sunny, and I was really surprised by how great of friendships that I made while I was in Greece. I went over there. Megan Anderson went with me. She was on my team as well. But most of the other people that went on the trip I didn't really know before. And I made friends with almost all of them, and I'm still very close with them. And that was something that really surprised me, because I tend to be a little shy when I'm in new situations or meeting new people. And I created friendships that are going to last a lifetime, which is really amazing.
Be sure to go to our Instagram, instagram.com/LC Pioneers, because Sydney was kind enough to let us share one of her pictures from Greece and talk about that experience in our timeline. It was pretty neat. What's ahead for you then, in terms of maybe your career trajectory as you head into your senior year academically? Do you have kind of a pulse on what you plan to do after graduation?
I want to go to law school after Lewis and Clark. Right now, I'm actually studying 4 or more hours a day for the LSAT, which I plan on taking in July. And which is strange is the LSAT has been shifted to being online at home because of COVID-19. So potentially I could be taking it in my room, which will be a little strange. But once I take that, I plan on applying to law schools. In the fall, I'm looking more towards going back to California, LA area, where I can be near my sister for a little while before she moves off somewhere and starts her career. But yeah, I just want to. Right now, my plan is to be a lawyer. Not sure what type of law yet, but that's what I plan on doing right now.
Well, we wish you the best of luck in that pursuit. It sounds like you have a lot on your plate senior year in terms of academics and getting the LSAT out of the way. In terms of your recovery with your injury, how are things going in terms of that healing process?
Well, it's been extended longer than I would have wanted. I got hurt back in February, and I originally was supposed to have surgery to reconstruct my ligaments, and remove some bone fragments and things like that in March, but due to the COVID-19 crisis, it just got postponed. I didn't know when it was going to happen, and luckily, about a week and a half ago, I was able to go back up to OHSU, and they got me in for a surgery. So that pushes my recovery another 6 weeks of no walking and no weight, and then after that, hopefully, I can start working on strengthening my ankle again, and hopefully get back on the field in the fall and be ready for season in the spring.
That would be amazing. So, are you on the scooter again?
Yep, I'm on the scooter.
That's where we saw you last when you left. But
Yep.
wish you the best of luck. Stay safe, certainly. Everyone in Mount Shasta as well. And we appreciate taking the time to join us today.
Thank you so much, Ryan.
That's Sydney Cross. She's a rising senior for softball, joining us on lcpioneers.com live. Fun conversation with her, and she's definitely one of those student athletes who, anytime you see her in the hallway, in the training room, she's someone who always seemingly is as happy as can be, and certainly that affects the people around her. So she's also a member of our Pios Stream crew. She's helped us out a ton with different things over her first 3 years on Palatine Hill. So, specifically to athletic communications and the work that we do to try to do video streaming and all the events at Lewis and Clark for athletics. Certainly appreciative of her. We did put it in the comments, but big shout out Lisa Kumasaka, Savannah Dixon, and Frankie Ward, the seniors, as well as all of our spring student athletes who. In their senior year, had their season cut short. We've done a lot of things as we could during LC's week last week on our Instagram. If you miss any of that, be sure to follow us, LC Pioneers, on Instagram. And we do have a 2020 LC's hashtag highlight that you can watch. And we go through all of the senior slideshows. They're also in our grid on our Instagram page. We haven't moved anything down, so they're right there at the top. If you go to lcpioneers.com Instagram.com/LC Pioneers. Ahead, we have one more guest for the week, and then we will move into our next week of shows. I think this is week 9 we're approaching, so pretty excited about that. But tomorrow's guest, Raul Mion, is a former Lewis and Clark student athlete. He two-sport athlete for track and field and football, and now in education. He's a teacher at West Lynn High School, which is just down the road from Lewis and Clark in Portland, in the Portland area, and has his master's degree. He'll soon be pursuing an administrator credential. So we'll talk to him about the education path, because Lewis and Clark does have a lot of great opportunities for students pursuing the worlds of education and health studies and entrepreneurship, as well as education. There's a lot of neat pre-professional paths that the college does a really nice job on helping students achieve. And then next week, we're planning to talk to swimming head coach Chris Fonts, who is one of the longest tenured coaches at Lewis and Clark. So we'll have a chance to catch up with him. The swimming season was not cut short. It was one of the last things to complete with the Northwest Conference Championship, so we'll have a chance to catch up with him. And then interim director of physical education and athletics, as well as our head athletic trainer, Mark Petrock, is scheduled to join us too. We'll update you on certain things that are going on with Lewis and Clark. That is our scheduled guest list so far for next week. We're also expecting to possibly have someone from campus living, which will be neat too, because that's part of the division of student life, which athletics is, and have an idea to see what kind of resources, what campus living is like for students at Lewis and Clark. That's one of the goals of the show, has certainly been to bring people from the Lewis and Clark community on as well, to give a chance to share what makes Lewis and Clark special from their perspective as well. So big thanks to Sydney. Big thanks to you for joining us on today's edition of lcpioneers.com live. I'm Ryan Goff. It's been a lot of fun. You can be sure to check out our archive shows at youtube.com/lcpios. So until we see you again tomorrow at 11:30 on Facebook Live with Raul, we'll talk to you then. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. We look forward to talking to you soon. Goodbye, everybody.
My favorite spot on campus is right outside the DOVECOTE, little benches, and there's flowers growing there, and you can get a little coffee at the DOVECOTE and sit there.
My favorite spot on campus is definitely the weight room. I get that everybody loves the gardens or the manor house, but our facilities for athletics here are actually amazing too, and the weight room is definitely my favorite spot.
My favorite spot on campus would either be the GLADE outside of the athletic facilities or South Campus.
What is my favorite spot on campus? I really like the back porch of the manor house.
It looks out on Mount Hood, and on a clear day, it's super beautiful just to sit around with friends.
Hi, I'm Nick Lombardi. Something I've learned at Winterim this year is how to communicate a vision.
My biggest takeaway from Winterim is probably the networking. Getting to talk to everybody, connect with people for the future is one of the most valuable things, and I did Winterim last year, came back for more this year.
I think a way in which my liberal arts education has really helped me and my group formulate our ideas is that concept of critical thinking and having many different backgrounds, me being an econ major and my two group mates being chemistry majors. We really get that well-rounded background, well-rounded ideas.
I think overall it's absolutely worth doing. You find yourself not only being more prepared for, say, well, this next semester, on top of being more prepared for life in general.